Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm learning if there's any technical difficulties possible that can go wrong today. Today's going to be the day it happens.
Don't seriously. Everything that could go wrong is gonna do it today. It
I
started
figured
off
out
that way.
why I could.
It's gonna end that way.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is a new day.
I figured out why I couldn't talk to you last night.
Yeah.
It's pouring down rain. I didn't even take that into consideration. It shut down some of the cell towers because of it.
Oh. Well, that's helpful. Yeah.
Jerks.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Donnie. How you doing from New Beginnings, My Everyday Life in Rural Cyprus? Hello to Annie from our urban homestead. How are you, my darling? So today we're on season 4, episode 42.
Season 4, episode 2.
Season 4, episode 2 of
Take 572.
Preparedness on a budget. And today we're looking at planning. The top 10 considerations you need to make before you do anything. Because planning is one of the... you can't do anything without planning, let's be honest.
No.
You know, and a lot of it you have to sit down and really think about. There's not... You can't go into this kind of thing and go all willy-nilly on it. You know, it's not going to work. It really isn't. You know, are you okay? What? Okay. Grandma's curtain twitching over here, so it's all good. But oh, okay, fair enough. So good. So, what we're here to do is to talk about. We're basically what this season is about is doing the preparedness on a budget 101. let's just put it that way. This is a healthy, practical advice, down to earth, grounded, talking about being prepared. This is not fear mongering. This is not talking about Teotihuacan SHTF 6. Well, it could be a little bit, but not.
Did you just say Teotihuacan?
I said Teotihuacan, yes.
Okay, just making sure that's what I heard.
Do you know what Teotihuacan is?
Never heard of it other than what's coming out of my eyes right now, and I can't stop it. Go ahead.
Okay, so Teotihuacan is basically the end of the world as we know it. Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan. Okay.
Yeah. End of the world as we know it. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about life. Okay? Now, life has definitely been here today, and life has been here for the last, it's just before Christmas. For those of you who've been following along for a while, you would know that we ended up in a situation just before Christmas, and it kind of meant that everything had to be completely pulled back, completely handmade. We couldn't afford to do very much at all, and it was all sorted out. We got to a point where we were back on our feet after finishing off sorting out all those bills, and this morning
knock, knock,
we had more that we had a knock on the door for, and I was like, oh, well, that's fun. So if you want to see a little bit more information about that, you can go onto my community tab. Because I'm not going to go through it all right here, but the point is things happen. Stuff can get on top of you, stuff can get away from you, and stuff that you have forgotten all about or didn't even know about, that's through no fault of your own, can happen.
Right.
And when that stuff happens, you want to be prepared in a way that is going to put the least amount of discomfort or change to your lifestyle as it is, so that it can be as easy as possible.
If possible.
if possible. Okay.
Yes.
So it's to take away the inconvenience of it, really. So say, for example, you got bills coming in like we do, and we've had a couple of rather large unexpected bills come in. You want to make sure that your cupboards are full. That's one less thing that you have to worry about, right? Okay. Yeah. You want to then look at what you can pull back on if you have bills that are chosen bills. Things like if you've got monthly subscriptions and stuff like that, if it's going to cost you more to stop that subscription for a couple of months, a lot of the streaming services will let you do that for a month. Actually, they will let you stop it for a month and then start again without any sort of issues. Mm-hmm. If that will help out a little bit. If it won't help out and it's not worth doing, don't do it.
Right.
But there's a lot of things to consider. Hello, Ashley! From Ashley's Allotment Adventures. Moderator on duty, yes.
Suburban Hillbilly joined us as well.
Hi! Yes, you did. Hi, Rebecca. How are you doing, darling? Sorry. It's been a day, and if I miss you, I'm sorry, okay? It's not on purpose. Hey, hello. Monica from Land's Promised Land. Hello, darling. How are you? I just started downsizing my subscription. Awesome. So what are we going to be looking
I think one of the things that has to be said, and it's something you and I have talked about, and especially after the events of the day for you.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. I mean, I'm there and have been there myself. You guys just have a different format. We don't have people knocking on our door usually. So
we don't really have that either. That's right. The extreme to the situation where, they've been trying to get hold of you. They've had to get the courts involved. The courts have now said, right, you can go out and do whatever. If you can't get the hold of them to do a payment plan, then obviously you're going to have to be able to go and claim your money in some way. And that means knocking on the door and taking
except for the problem with the whole damn thing, is that if you're going to send the bill to the old house and the address to the new house, don't you think the bill should be going to the new house?
Well, this is what is really kind of almost comical about the whole thing, really.
Anyways, let me finish saying what I was saying real quick. The whole thing about what we're talking about, because we're all in the same situation to some degree, one way or another. Okay, some not as bad, some worse off. We all know that. Okay, because everybody's situation, there's always somebody that's got it worse than you do. I mean, that's the honesty of it. Okay,
that doesn't belittle what you're going through.
No, it doesn't, and I'm not trying to minimize. I am not trying to. Yeah, I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm just trying to say everybody has their own degree of the same thing going on. Okay. That being said, in planning, one of the best things you can do for yourself is make sure you have an emergency fund established and set up. Even if it's $5 a month, it's still something going towards the what if. Okay.
Yeah, whether it's you can have it in cash.
Yes, I agree.
Have it in cash. I mean, like I prefer to have it in a jar. Like, I mean, I call it my Christmas fund. And like if we've got any spare coins, whatever, it all gets chucked in there. If there's any sort of like spare cash notes floating around, we pop it in there, So it's there for emergencies if we absolutely need it. But if it's not used by Christmas, that goes towards something a bit special, So yeah, it's a little bit different, but
I think that's still a good plan. I mean, it's a plan nonetheless, So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you.
That's all right. Monica's just saying, got to figure out what I'm spending a little more closely. I'm setting up for the podcast live, so I'm listening while I set up. Yay! So looking at this, I mean, any point in life, I mean, you look at what happened to you this week, you know, your car broke down.
Oh, it still broke down, by the way.
You know, it still broke down. But if that had happened in the middle of the motorway or the freeway, as you guys call it, or whatever, and you're miles away from everywhere, you've had to call for a breakdown. It's blazing hot in the middle of summer. There is no shade, none of that. And you're going to have to wait there till the breakdown crew comes, right?
Which could be 6 to 8 to 12 the next day.
Could be hours and hours and hours. So you're wanting to think about having something in your car to be able to do stuff like that. That's a plan. That's like putting together a small plan. But the first thing that we're going to be looking at is, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan? And the first thing that comes into mind for me is that when we first start thinking, oh, well, how are we going to do this? What do we need to do? All of that kind of stuff. And I automatically start listing things in my brain.
Right.
I'm not actually, you know, putting it down together as a plan of, this is what we need to do, la, 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 la. I'm going, well, we need more of that. And we need more of that. And we haven't got that. Right. And we haven't got this. And that is kind of a plan. And it's part of a plan. But it needs to be brought in so that it's put in a way of, you know, where it makes sense and it is a plan. Those are bullet points at that point. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So, if you already have a plan, if you had to leave, do you have somewhere you can go? If you have to stay, do you have a plan for if you have to stay? Do you have support network? Do you have all of these sorts of things? You know, because it could be a flood, it could be earthquake, it could be tornado. You know, do you know if your community has a plan? Do you know what is going on, you know, in the wider world to do with things? Or are you completely on your own and reliant on just you? So it's always looking at all of the parts and putting it together. You may already have some kind of a plan when it comes to being prepared for certain situations. Sometimes, you know, it's nice to have like 2 or 3 different plans just for sort of like small everyday stuff that hits us like life, to the bigger stuff of the just in cases. Okay, so yeah, that's it. It's putting together the plan. So if you already have a bit of a plan or have a bit of an idea, that's great. Put those things down. And what we'll do is, over through the next 9 parts of this, we will help you to build that plan and put it together in a way that is more cohesive and you have a better idea of where you're going. And it does help you not be overwhelmed by the enormity of what can happen when you have all the information thrown at you and you don't know where to start. Okay, so this is us giving you a place to begin. So, number 2 is it just you? Is it just you? Is it you and your partner? You and a friend? You and your entire brood? You know, you need to make, you kind of need to put things together, you know, for each person, because each person may have different needs, you know. So is it just you, or is it you, some friends, some extended family, etc., who may not live within your dwelling, that have got the same sort of idea of being prepared, so that if one of you is living in the valley where it might get flooded, someone who's living up the top of the hill might say, come to ours, right? It could be as simple as that. All right, so that's an easy one, you know. Or it could be that your friend lives out in the middle of the forest somewhere, and if there's a forest fire, you're able to say it, turn around to them and say, well, you can come to us. And it being that kind of, you know, that kind of plan. But just figuring out who it is you have for you, you know, and who is in your group, if you have a group, or who's within your family or extended family or whatever. So let's have a look. Rebecca says, a lady ran a stop sign and totaled my son's truck 2 weeks ago. There was only $200 difference in repair versus totaling it. So they totaled it. That is not fun. But I can understand that. Yeah. No, that's another conversation. So we'll have that another time. But yeah. Number 3 is, what are your assets? Now, your assets are things that you already have. Not only just what you have, but what your skill sets are, what your knowledge is, what your abilities are. These are assets. These are things that you have to bring to a situation should the situation arise. So, I am able to do quite a few different things that are sort of homesteading related, etc., and emergency fixing of things related. So those would be assets. So, cooking from scratch, being able to grow food, putting all of that stuff together, being able to preserve food, that for us is an asset. That's a massive asset. Tanny is able to build things without even drawing a picture of it, because that's his superpower, because he is dyslexic. So he is able to do those things. That is a massive asset. What other assets do we have? We have things like hand tools, so they don't cost electricity or gas to run. We have ways of cooking outside, so we don't have to run the gas or the electric or anything like that. We have the car. That's an asset. That's an asset in all sorts of ways. So we have all these things, and you kind of want to put it together and go, well, okay, so this is what we actually have available to us. Hard books. So actual hard copy books on different subjects, they're assets. Okay, so if they're skill-based books, they are assets. That is a massive asset. Finding out what your friends and family who are within your inner circle, what are their skills, they are assets. They could be a completely different skill set to you.
Yep.
That's all good. Still an asset.
I think one of the things that we talked about this was realizing what's available to you and what needs to be beefed up in your plan. Yeah. Whether that's you learning it or somebody else learning it, or having the knowledge of it, or the resource to be able to do it, or the skill to do it. Those are things that people need to work towards. So,
yeah. Hi, Anne. How are you, darling? Hello. It's good to see you. Yeah. So, that's having that knowledge of what your assets are. If you have a friend that you call every time something goes wrong with your PC or your tech, they are an asset.
Hey, Blue, how do you make Marisela sauce? Hey, Blue, how do you make... Oh, sorry.
Exactly. Hey, Tony, how do you do this for pressure canning? Because I don't have a clue.
Oh,
I had this person email me about pressure canning. I need you to tell me.
Yep, I get it.
That's assets. Okay, yep. They could be in a different country, but they're still an asset, because there is a skill-based person that you go to asking for a certain types of advice.
I think the other thing I would do too at this point in the planning part is which eventually, once we go through everything we're talking about, you'll know what we're talking about. But just for the quick and short, where am I lacking? Where am I insufficient? Where am I not able to do something? And make sure, even if it's not a person, it's a book or something in your arsenal to be able to do what might need to be done. That is the best way to do it. You're not going to be able to figure that out unless you thought about it and you have a plan. So
yeah, exactly. So it's like, assets aren't necessarily tangible items. They can be skills, etc. What is going on in chat? Hello.
I don't know, but everybody keeps saying Tony and Tony and Tony, and I'm like, what did I say? What did I do?
Slowly building up a homesteading library. Thrift stores are a great place to look for books. Yes, they are.
Yes.
Ashley says dyslexia is such a difficult word to spell. Whoever thought of putting a Y and an X in it was having a bad day. Sorry.
I'm with him 100%, and I don't have dyslexia, so I get the point.
Yeah. So it's all good. It's the thing is that some people look at dyslexia and think, yeah, but that's an issue. No, it's actually not an issue. People with dyslexia have 4D viewing. When you describe something to them, if you describe something to them, they will see it in 4D, which is why they get letters like D and B mixed up, because they're seeing it as it can spin around and around. So they get to see it around and around. All right. It's not just 3D or 2D or whatever. They see it from all angles, which is why their letters get confused.
Right.
Okay, so they are actually the engineers. They're the architects. They're the mechanics, because they can see it before it's actually, they can picture it all and how it's supposed to be put together. So, so if I'd given Hanny no instructions for the greenhouse, he probably would have done it in half the time and no stress. But because I gave him the instructions, and the instructions were translated from Korean, which reads right to left, and had been translated in that direction, so that it was in English, but some of the pages were in the wrong order, it caused a lot of hassle. And I'm being blinded. Sorry, guys. Give me a second.
Blinded by the light.
Can you get the door, the window?
I can get the door, yeah.
No, the curtain. Sorry.
Yes, Kenny, get the door for her, because that's
yes. So words are hard.
What I was gonna say is the thing I think people need to remember is that when we're talking SHTF,
yes,
do I really care that you or I or Tanny or Patty can't read?
No.
In all honesty, as long as somebody can read, that's the important part for the resources. The utilization of other people, regardless of their resource, it is the important part of it, because at that point you're not looking at it. I know that's not what we're talking about. It hit me that in that situation, who cares? You're just looking for somebody that can help you out at that point. Now, moving it into a smaller scale, if you're out of power for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or a month, or there's a flood or whatever it may be, that's just as important. And who cares whether somebody is dyslexic or not? Can you help me with X, Y, and Z? That's what you're going to ask.
Absolutely. But it is also something that you can put in your plan and allow for. Now, people who are dyslexic, and it is something that we will go into further on another week. Okay, when we look at health things and abilities and disabilities and stuff like that. Okay, because we will do an entire week on that. So
we are. Oh, you can go off on some people. Okay.
So what I do for Tanny for his work, because it does help him, I put his run sheets. I'm not showing you all of that because it's private information, but I type up his run sheets for work and on orange paper, because it's easier for him to read. He can actually read it on orange paper. Some people it's green, some people it's blue.
I was going to say there are variations.
All sorts of different variations. If you can't do that, you can get over sheets to put filters to put over you know, your screen or your papers or whatever. But there's also a dyslexic font which you can get, which is free to download, and it's available to go on your phones and on your computers and all your, you know, electronics. Okay, so it can be used.
I did not realize that until you made me aware of that, and for that I appreciate it, because I had no clue that that was even available. The one gripey part I have about the whole thing is I'd love to be able to put all of my descriptions in that font, except when you go to do it, it changes it back to default and it doesn't work. So
it does. Yeah. But all my downloadables now are all in dyslexic font.
Yeah. And I think it's important for you for what you said. In Tanny's case, it's orange. There are some people that it is green. There are some people that it is a shade of blue. There's some people it's white and black.
I like blue.
Yeah.
I do like blue.
Yeah.
Oh, blue works for you too.
Orange, because I prefer the orange.
Yeah.
It's because sometimes I work in early hours in the morning where it's dark. So blue, it changes the colour.
Right.
So the orange stands out more in darker.
Yeah.
So like if you're in the pitch black lane, you pick that one up, you've got a map, you go, oh, I can see that. Well, you put a blue one up
and you can't see it.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
So it
makes
varies.
It
varies. It really does.
But I think it's like saying, it's especially dyslexia, just since we're talking about it, but this applies to a lot of things. Just because somebody has something doesn't mean it's a one size fits all.
No, absolutely not.
We need to be accepting of that, especially when you're looking at setting up a plan. You want to make sure you've taken those things into consideration.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we will get into that further down, as well, a little bit more. But yeah, it's looking at what your assets are and seeing them for what they are, not for negative, but you want to see what your positives are. Okay. Right. So number 4 is what I have versus what I need or want.
Big difference, isn't it?
It is a big difference. Okay. There is a big difference. You might find that you have a lot more as far as equipment and materials and whatever you feel is necessary for what you are trying to do to be prepared for than you thought. So you want to do a stock take. Stock takes are really important. You know, I need to do a stock take of this baking cupboard that I have in the hallway because, quite frankly, I can't see the back of it. I haven't got a clue what's in there. There's a couple of baskets in there that are full of packets of something, which I'm not sure what they are. We haven't gone into them. They could be herbs. There's some kind of dry store thing that hasn't gone in a container yet. But it could be stuff that I keep buying, and yet I've got bags of things there that could be used. So having a look and seeing what you've already got is really, really important. You know, and that way you're probably going to save yourself quite a lot of money because, you know, you're not rebuying certain tools, you're not buying certain ingredients, you're not buying materials that you've already got or something similar to what you need that will do, if that makes sense, right?
I think the other thing that goes into play here, and I want people to really take heed to this comment, just because me and you have videos out how to show all this stuff doesn't mean we're not human. We make the same mistakes everybody else does. I've got a spice counter full of every spice you could think of. And somebody was like, don't you think you should downsize? I was like, no, I'm not downsizing because I like all my spices. And then they open up the cupboard and it's jammed full of additional other spices. And it's like, I need to listen to myself. The talking I do, I need to listen to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we all make the same mistakes. It's natural.
Absolutely, we all do it. And or we might put something away somewhere where it's out of the way, where it's a convenient place that it's out of the way because you're not going to need it until a few months down the track or whatever because it's an extra bulk item. Suddenly you get to the end of the one and you can't remember where you put that one or that it even exists. Then you go and buy another one. So my suggestion is doing a bit of a stock take every 3 to 6 months.
I agree with you.
Okay, so my rule of thumb is I tend to do one 3 weeks before 3 months before Christmas, but I also do one at New Year's as well, because once Christmas is done, you've probably blown through half your cupboard by that time. And having an idea of what you have and what needs replacing, what doesn't need replacing, what you have more of. You've probably got sprinkles and all sorts of stuff in weird places. So, you want to have a look at what you've got, and be, very aware of what you have and put it all together. So it's all a little bit better organized and you have an idea of what you've got. So, that's pretty helpful as well. But I also find
I don't think people need to take this as another list to do. Okay. No. I think what you need to take it as, in addition to what I may already have, I would like to have this so it's available. And I know looking at okay, I got 10 of these, one of these. Yeah. I need more of that. I don't need this. It makes your life easier when you're able to do that.
Well, for an example, Tanny just bought us a brand new fry pan because our small fry pan is so buckled. It is buckled to heck and back. It looks like I've been beating him around the kitchen. It's a great frying pan. It's still a great frying pan, except it's sort of gone that shape in the middle. So, when you're trying to do things like flat things,
you can go surfing on it. Honestly,
you could do circle. You can do beautiful rings of things. Absolutely gorgeous rings of things. But you try and fry a pancake in that sucker? No. Not going to happen. No. So he bought us a new fry pan, and we both are in love with it so much, we decided that when we can, we're going to get a couple more because they are that good. And they're cheap. They weren't really expensive. No, when I say cheap, I don't mean
cheap made.
On it, the coating will come off. I don't mean that. What I mean is it's reasonably priced for the quality it is, which is actually quite a good quality. So,
you look at frying pans nowadays and you look at them,
stupid money.
You look at them and you go, I look at them whenever I go shopping and go, yeah, that looks nice. But then I go, nah. And I go, that looks nice. No, but nah. Nah. Then I went and last week when we did the shopping, I looked at that one and I went, ooh. And then I looked underneath and I went, ooh.
Because it's got a good heft to it.
Good.
It's a good hot, it's got good bopping power to it, So that the coat on it is actually really good quality as well because it's so hefty. Whereas, the lighter ones that have got the non-stick coating on tend to be a little bit more of a, temporary item.
So if I see Blue with, cooking anything and she's got a metal item in her hand and she goes needs that frying pan, you know what's going to happen.
You do realise that that's the non-stick you can use metal on.
Don't go there.
I already have.
No, you do not use metal on my pan.
You know what he's saying.
I know what he's saying. Okay, so Anne's just gone to feed the cats, dogs, and the chickens.
Change the subject. I get it.
Yes. And Annie says, I have an old ammunition box full of old hand tools that were my late grandfather's. That's awesome. See, that's awesome.
That is,
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, to be honest. Yeah. I would be making sure I looked after those. Rebecca from Suburban Hillbilly says, hi, Tanny. He's getting back in his box now. Right, okay.
I'll get locked up
again. Yeah.
See you.
So then you've got the things you need. You think things that you need. All right. So you know the
need is very
a necessity for life.
Yes.
Need is a necessity for life, or a necessity to do basic things for your good of yourself. Okay. So good of yourself for basic necessities of life. What you need are the ones that you don't have, or the varieties of ones that you probably should have, And the wants are those things that you really wish you did have, that, the wish list type things.
I think the other way I would look at it, and I think it's a good way for people to look at it. I want to take my frying pan, so I'm going to take all I have. Since we're on frying pans, I just picked that. Okay. Mm. What I should have grabbed was the milk and the eggs and all the other stuff to cook in the frying pan. But because I was so worried about the frying pan, I grabbed them all and didn't have room for the stuff I needed to bring with me.
There is that as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So that brings us to number 5.
Dun, 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 on the
Can you carry it?
Yeah, that's kind of an important one, isn't it?
So if you're in a situation, like if you're in a fire or flood or something like that, where you need to get out of your house and leave the area, can you carry it?
Let me give you a better example. I love every one of the accessories I have sitting in my kitchen, and I would bring every one of them if I had a large moving van to drive down the road. Yeah. The problem is I've got myself, my wife, 2 kids, and my mom, and if I am not carrying 500 pounds worth of equipment around on my back. I got news for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I have, I think it's 200 pieces of silicone bakeware. Would that be coming with me if I had to leave? No.
Maybe one.
No.
You know what I'm saying, though. You need to start prioritizing. I know in your
absolutely, and the priority would be that would be a no. I mean,
it would be a no.
It would be an absolute no.
No.
If we had to go in an emergency, it would be still sitting in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Because I can't carry it. I can't carry it. If you, I mean, we're going to look at go bags next week, but if you have to have a go bag, you have to have spare clothing, 3 days worth of food, emergency supplies, so maybe a little first aid kit or, bits and pieces. You might have to have a little camp cooker in there, like, the little ones with the little fire starter thingies. They got a special name, the little foldable thingies. All of that kind of stuff, a blanket, a sleeping bag, whatever else, all of this kind of stuff. You really got room for 7 different size fry pans, and piggy shaped, silicone, because, you like your gummies. No.
Oh, that's funny.
You don't have that. You don't have that. So you've got to look at what is important, what is really, really important.
The other thing that goes along with that is also consider who else can't carry for themselves that you will have to be carrying for.
That is exactly it. Because if you do have someone in your group who cannot carry, that their stuff is going to have to be split up between those who can. Yeah. So that again is another. So say for example, everyone has an 80-pound pack, right? So that's a huge pack.
It is, but
that's a big pack, but that's a reasonable pack,
right?
That's what the average backpacker has. So for example, if it was an 80-pound pack, you're gonna have to take 20 pounds of your stuff out so you can have 20 pounds of somebody else's.
Right.
So it's looking at what is the most important stuff.
Which really, now we're getting into the nuts and bolts of the reasoning behind the planning. You need to at least have a thought process in place of how this is going to work, what it's going to work, what is it going to take, and who at some point is responsible for what.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
And this isn't shit. Sorry, SHTF, as much as it is floods, power outages, storms that you can't get through that are going to take a long amount of time. You never know what those are going to be. It could be a few days, it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be a half a year or a year sometimes, depending on what the situation is.
Absolutely. You know, so you got to think about it.
Yep. Sorry.
See, the other part of that is everyone's very, very good at preserving food in glass jars. Are you going to carry them? How are you going to carry them? 3 days worth for 4 people.
I'm here to tell you it's not happening in my house.
No. You know, it's not feasible. It's not feasible. So then you have to look at, okay, so I can't carry that. So what can I carry? Well, probably dry food in packets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is going to be a better option. You know, things like that. And this is the part of planning. This is what you go, right, well, I can't carry that, or I can't carry as much of that as I would like to. Mm-hmm. Because if there's more than just you, it's one thing if it's just you, because you can carry what you want and you know what you can do, and that's it. You're not responsible for anyone but yourself. But if you've got a family and you have to then go, right, well, so-and-so's in charge of that, so-and-so's in charge of that. But if you do that and you've got only one person in charge of one certain thing, instead of having a lot of little bits of it spread through 3 or 4 or 5 people, you know, if they lose their pack, that's all of that gone.
Right. You
know, so that's something to consider as well.
And Rebecca makes a good point too, is don't forget about your pets as well.
Yeah. That there, can I just say,
golden vegetable savory rice.
So this is Asda's Basic, right? So we're not sponsors or affiliated by any means whatsoever, but Tanya and I have been testing out their Just Essentials range, which is their yellow packeted stuff, which is their basic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the cheapest you can get. And can I just say, we've fallen in love with these.
I think about less than 40. It's less than 40p. I think it's
it was
30 pence.
This one's 36p.
The other one, what we did before that one,
48p.
That one's got more veg in.
Yeah, so the other one that we got, and the name brand one was even worse, and that's a £1 a packet.
That one packet will feed at least 3 people.
Yeah. Without anything else.
Just wow. Add water. That's it.
Just add water to it, right?
And so, what you need.
You know, and that's the kind of thing that you can get really cheap.
So you imagine how many packets you could carry with that?
Yeah, you could carry quite a few of those.
Last year, probably in one backpack, if you actually had a backpack full of that, it'd probably last you 2-3 months.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the size of it.
For the size of it.
And there's no weight.
No, it's what? What's the pack size? 120 grams.
Yeah, but it's expanding once you add the water to it, right?
Yeah, so 10 packets of those is £2 in weight.
Right.
So, you know, that's...
Annette said cup of soups, 2-minute noodles, pack of savory rice, muesli, bars, treats, things like that. And it really goes back to what Tanny was saying is you consider what you can put in a backpack of those pouches or anything we mentioned in comparison to jars or all that other stuff.
Jars are great for home, okay? Or if you have notice to leave and have somewhere to go and a vehicle to do it in, that's fine. If you don't have that situation and all you have is a go bag, then things like this are going to save you and your family's life.
Right.
Well, that would feed from Tony and his family.
Yeah, you probably only
Tony, his wife, his kids, and his
3 packets for your lot.
And then out,
not even kidding.
If you're out in the wilderness, you got a nice rabbit, bang. Oh, you got rice and rabbit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Protein, and it's giving you all energy, and you're all surviving.
Right.
Yeah.
And the 2 packets would feed your family. Easy.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's about what you can carry at the end of the day. So
well, and here's the other thing, and I'm glad Tanny just said it. I mean, really, because this is another key to it. I'm here to tell you when you're sitting in a situation where you've had to leave your house because of whatever reason, okay?
Yeah.
I don't think many of us are going to worry about, well, what's the nutritional value of that and how many carbs am I getting and how many sugars? You're looking for something in your gullet to make you feel satisfied. You're not looking
for 48 hours. You'll be lucky if you've got 5 minutes to feed yourself.
Exactly.
Now, I don't care who you are, but I've been in enough bushfires and emergency situations to know absolutely that I haven't eaten for 72 to 4 or 5 days after the first amount of that has happened. Now, that's not only just because I haven't had the ability to do that. That's because the shock.
Yeah.
Taking care of everybody else.
Yep.
Putting myself last. But also, when you are in that high stress situation, the chances are you're going to be feeling pretty stressed and you're going to be feeling sick. And the whole idea of even eating goes completely off your radar. But the other part of that is the fight or flight mode, because you're now in flight mode. Now, if you're in flight mode, your body will refuse to eat. Now, it will refuse to do that because if you notice, if you do end up in a very high stress fight or flight mode, 2 things will happen. 1, you'll either be sick or you'll get the squits. Because your body wants to make itself as light as possible.
Right.
And it will absolutely do everything in its power to make you as light as possible. And that means expel everything that is in there that can be expelled. So if you've just eaten and this happens, you will find yourself, you are sick. If it hasn't, you will absolutely get a stomach thing, and it will literally, you will have no notice, and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, okay. So the last thing you want to actually do is eat. The only time you will eat, can I just say, is when someone literally physically, if you are the one who's in charge of your group or whatever, grabs you and makes you sit down and literally sits on you to make you eat something.
Right.
You know, but it's also important. You do need to eat. It's just you don't feel the
necessity.
That's it. To do it. Yeah.
But it's like that one, that packet rice there. If you look at things when you talk about bags of rice and everything else, when you go buy big bags of rice, can you imagine trying to carry a big bag of rice out?
It's not going to happen, is it? There are people that buy the big bags of rice and then they decant them into Mylar bags and vacuum seal them and do it that way.
But the thing is about it is, what is rice? People can live off rice.
Oh, yeah.
How long? Quite a long while.
Well, there are people all over the world who do it on a daily basis, love. You know, and that is the basis of their food is rice. So it's not a big, you know.
No.
At that point, during any kind of situation where it's a high stress situation, it's all going to be about just getting energy into your body. You know, that's all it's going to be about. It's going to be about getting, you know, energy into your body. So let's go on to number 6. What can I actually afford? Now, Tanny, the voice of reason from the side. Exactly, right? So, you know, if you watch a lot of these prepping channels and stuff like that, and there are quite a few out there, there's some actually really good ones. And
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. But the bigger ones will always point you in the direction of buying MREs, which are meals ready to eat, which tend to have come from like ex-military and stuff like that. They are incredibly expensive. You know, a month's worth of meals for one person is around about 150 quid. Now, I don't know about you, but we don't even spend that on ourselves for a month. That's kind of like a 6-week. When we do a big shop, that's like a 6-week shop. You know, that's certainly not for one person. We wouldn't spend 150 quid for one person. You know, that's silly money as far as I'm concerned. But if you have that money and you can do that, then go ahead. But if you can't, then there are things out there like these that you can put together very, very cheaply and aren't going to put you out of pocket when you go and do the shop. You know, no worries, Ashley Hunt, all good.
I don't know, but what do they do? Packet rice over there? Do they have actually packet
They
rice?
do. Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, they do, and they have them in Australia as well. But it's about getting a little bit and often, you know, get a little bit and often, make it something that you would eat anyway. So when these start coming to their, and keep them in date order so that when they start coming up to their use by their best before date, you can use those and replace them with other ones, you know, that are further dated. So you've always got your store of them there, so you've got a certain amount of things that are able to be rotated. But we're going to look at that a little bit later on as well. Okay, so basically you don't want to be putting yourself out of pocket to do this. You know, you can be prepared on literally nothing. You know, if you're growing your own food, preserve it. You know, preserve it yourself. It's not that difficult. If you're, you know, if you have access to a farmer's market or somebody else who grows, you know, you can maybe do a deal with a friend who has an allotment and say, look, I'll do the preservation as long as we can go halves or something like that, you know, and they do the growing. You know, it could be something like that. Or if you're going down to the farmer's market like we do every couple of months, then we go and buy what's in season and we get it very, very cheaply, and we can put stuff aside for months at a time. So it's not about spending a lot of money. You can spend thousands. I'm not going to lie, you can spend thousands, but you don't really need to. You know, you really, really don't really need to. A lot of the stuff you can do yourself, and it's very, very cheaply. Yes. So, Rebecca, and return my empty jars. Yes.
Well, you can grow your tomatoes on the windowsill, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out on the porch.
Yeah.
In a pot, you know what I mean? You can have little potato bags in a pot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the porch. A lot of people don't think about these things and think, oh, I've got no space, I can't do this. You know,
yeah.
You can.
Yeah, but it's a little bit
it's
that helps,
farm,
you know.
But, you know, little chili pad. You can have a little chili pad going on the windowsill. Window
and every bit helps at the end of the day.
Which
so
they would love because they get you double the heat because when somebody hits the window goes boom.
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. And it says, have a set budget for prepping. $10 a fortnight is my budget. And that's fine.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I put aside, what I say mine is I put aside £100 a month to put into our dry store pantry. Now, whether that is bulk items that I can put aside for however long, or if that's into equipment that I can put the money aside for that every couple of months or whatever, that's fine. If it's just to bulk up what we already have, that's fine too. I can use it in all manner of different ways. It doesn't have to just be on this or that, and it could be on stuff that we need now because we've gone through it all.
That's right.
You know, so, or it could be more something so that we've got somewhere to put the stuff. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Not complaining now, are ya? No. Right. So now we're going to.
I'm here to tell everybody from personal experience. It takes a while to build up in a very short amount of time to be back where you started from.
Oh yeah.
and that's even experience on myself. That's not. I am not perfect, but there are times where we're in the rebuild stage again. As much as I've talked about how stocked up and ready I am, and it was lovely to use when we had to, but now I'm at a point of rebuilding it all over again. So
absolutely. I mean, like we are as well. I just got things back up to a level where I was happy with. We got hit with this now today.
Right.
So I'm actually kind of pleased that I got it back up to where I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's going to be even more of a priority to build that back up again.
Right.
In a couple of months' time. So
but the good thing is that, you know, don't anybody stress out about it, because you just stay consistent, you will always, even if you use it, you can rebuild it. So I mean, it's a constant ebb and flow is the easiest way to put it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where it brings us on to number 7, which is perishable rotation of product. Now, it's all very well having boxes and boxes and boxes of bulk and all of this kind of stuff and what have you, but if you go to it in 3 years' time and you found that it's out of date and probably got water damage or vermin damage or something, it's not going to be much good to you.
No. So when we talked about this, what I specifically was looking at, you know, and one of the things which on my channel we'll come back to in the fall, but we're not there yet, is the pantry challenge. Now, the thing is, Annie, that is so spot on. Don't go.
I don't normally do this, guys. You know that, but this is important.
It is.
Do not go into debt to build a stockpile. Do not do that, and that goes for anything. Okay, that goes for anything. You do not have to go into debt for this at all.
No. So what I'm referring to is, and real quick, I'll just say, I mean, at least on my channel, I know you and I have talked about it as well. Your pantry is your pantry. It's long-term storage. It's short-term. It's your cupboards. It's your refrigerator. It's your freezer, dehydrated items, your freeze-dry items, all canned items, all of that stuff put together.
Yeah.
If you have a system set up and a plan set up where you have a bag that has envelopes of food, 25 envelopes of food, those should be in your constant rotation at least every 6 months. If you can do it, you want to make sure you're using what you have and you're replenishing what you're taking. That should be part of your normal rotation in your plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there is a channel called Mary's Nest, and now she talks about having the three pantry system, which is you've got your working pantry, you've got your pantry, right, and then you've got your prepper pantry, long-term storage, prepper. So that's your bulk. So you go from your working to your bulk to your long-term storage.
Right.
So your working pantry is the stuff that you use, you know, daily,
right,
daily. You know, and the bulk is obviously the backup, right? And then, you know, and then you've got your long-term or preparedness pantry that, you know, is there to back up the backup, you know. And if you start hitting into that, then you've got to start going, right, okay, so obviously I've blown through my working pantry, I've blown through my bulk, I'm now hitting that stuff. So that's where that stuff now has to come to the working pantry, and I have to look at replacing that.
That's the way my system is set up for my flour and sugar specifically. I use on the counter, we have a big 2-gallon or 5-gallon containers that is everyday use. Then we go into a bucket system that's sealed, and then we have bags, the 25-pound bags in our storage pantry. Okay. If I'm in my storage pantry, that means I'm rotating all that through up to the front, so then I can refill the storage pantry again.
Oh, absolutely. Rebecca says I've been sub to Mary's Nest for years. I should be that calm and even-tempered. It's never going to happen. I think the difference with us and Mary is that Mary's kitchen and where you see her filming, that's not her house. It's a studio.
That's not her house.
You know, she's at work. You know, she's at work. It's being filmed. You know,
I always see her.
She's just chill. She's not worried about whether the goats have just started chewing her petunias on the back of their deck. You know, she doesn't have to worry about that because she's not even probably at home. She probably
I always see her.
She's done.
I always see her, and it's la la la. It reminds me of Bob Ross. Happy little trees and happy little flowers. And then I picture
freeze-dried whatever's in jars, and you're just like, oh no, stop.
Right. And then I envision, as soon as the camera is off, give me my coffee now.
Where the heck is my bourbon?
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry. I think you just need to make sure that you're rotating whatever that.
Yes, make sure you've got
escape plan is for whenever happens.
Yeah,
is in your rotation.
Absolutely.
So
okay, so number 8. Number 8 is, should I stay or should I go now?
Should I stay or should I go now?
Right, okay. So depending on where you live and what your circumstances are, would depend very much on whether you are able to stay where you are or whether you're not going to be able to stay where you are. So if you're going to stay where you are, do you have the wherewithal and necessity to be able to keep yourself safe and your property safe and everywhere in there looked after with your needs met?
Without going to the store, without going anywhere. Without having services come in. Can you sustain yourself in your situation the way it is?
Yes. Can you do that?
Because here's the reality. If you got to leave your house, that sustainability is only going to last so long. It doesn't matter what.
Sustainability is only that if you have to leave, you can only leave with what you can carry.
Right.
Or whatever you can stick in your car. You know? And if all you can do is pick up the kids one under each arm and shove them in the back of the car with, you know, here's your sippy cup, just get in there and we're out of here, then that's what you got to do.
Right.
Right.
But so again, ultimately it's you've got what you need done for those things. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, well, like I said, next week we're going to be going into go bags because that's really kind of important. But we're going to be looking at several different types of them. So yeah, but it's looking at, should I go? Should I stay? What are we going to do? You know, and if we do stay, what do we need? What are the things that we have to have in place to be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what pieces of equipment do we possibly need? What tools would we need? What other items would we need to make sure that is a sustainable option? You know, like during, say for example, during World War II, blackout curtains was very important.
I'll guarantee you most households do not have blackout curtains right now.
What blackout curtains are now are very different to what they were then.
No.
You know, blackout curtains now will probably not black out 100% of any light inside your house. So you need to be looking at things like incredibly heavy duty materials for curtains and stuff like that.
Weren't original blackout curtains made of a canvas material?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So the other option is making a frame, which is what they also did, was a canvas frame that was the size of the window. So that if they didn't have the wherewithal to make the canvas or the blackout curtains, they made this framed canvas that could be picked up before nighttime to completely block out the window, completely block it out from the inside. So it's basically like a black painting shoved up in the window.
Yep.
So that's an option as well. But would you have the storage for those? You know, you got to look at, do you have the storage for things like that?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another option. That's another thing to consider as well. So there's those. And making sure that you've got, you know, packs or bags or whatever, if you do need to go, that are suitable. It's all very well having, you know, one that's really cute and you really love because it's got a dinosaur on it. Not looking at anyone in particular. But if it's going to rip the first time you put an extra...
Don't be ripping off into dinosaur land there, sister.
You know,
careful that T-Rex bites.
You know, it's not going to be suitable to take as a go bag because it's not going to hold up to being kicked around, thrown around, run around, you know, probably dragged across the floor, you know, whatever it's going to face, it's not going to hold up to it. So it's having a quality, you know, item that, you know, we can go into next week. Right.
The other thing I want to jump in, just because she said Suburban Hillbilly said have a plan B. She gave a listing as to why, but plan B's, there's no problem with plan B's because you never know if plan A is not going to work out. Mm-hmm. So, sorry, go ahead.
Plan A, B, C, and D is always a good idea. That's
26 letters, so you know.
You got 26 letters, and then you got infinite numbers. So if you have to go A1, A2, then go year ahead, you know?
Yep.
So, number 9, having resources and expanding your skill base and skill sharing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
If you have skills and you have the ability to share those skills with others that are going to be useful to them in some kind of way, with practical life skills of some description, it might be a really good idea to share that with people. Yes.
Or have the resources available so that they can learn it themselves if you can't teach them. A book, a manual, written down on a piece of paper, something.
Yes. And it is, hey, Devil Dog.
Hello.
How you doing? Devil Dog Prepper, hello. How you doing?
For this one, everybody has a skill.
Yeah, everybody's got a skill. And everyone, you know, everyone teach one.
Yep.
It's not hard, you know, and if the last thing you want is people coming to your door and knocking on it, you know, then the best way to do that is to make sure that they can deal with themselves.
Right.
You know, and if that means that you teach them to do it, then teach them to do it. It's not a hardship.
I've got a skill.
Yeah.
I know you.
Yes, you do have that skill. You're very good at that skill. I have a skill.
I can use them as well.
Yes. So, anywho, I see a new coin purse in my future. Okay. So
you're funny.
The point is that if you have a lack in your skill base of people or within your family or whoever, or even in yourself, that you want to have a different skill, you know, it's a good idea to learn these things. You know, it is a good idea to learn these things. For the longest time in winter, when I am kind of stuck indoors and I'm not able to go anywhere, I get a new skill. I not only get a new skill, I get a new qualification. I do.
It takes it to the whole new level, but
yeah, it takes it to a whole new level. But you know, they're all within the same kind of genre of stuff. So you've got that, you know, the things that I've done, like I'm a dietitian and nutritionist, but I'm a qualified herbalist. I've done my masters, I've done my advanced masters. I've also got, qualifications in aromatherapy. I'm also a naturopath. I've got all of those things. And then every year I'll add to another one, and I'll add another one, and I'll add another one, and I'll add another one, because it's all stuff that's useful. It's all stuff that's useful that you can help yourself in everyday life, you and your family or your friends or whatever, and, it's all useful things. And then learn a skill. If you don't know how to learn how to make bread, use the winter to learn to make bread.
Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Sure. If you want to learn to make cheese, make it for Christmas. Get ready and do that sort of stuff around Christmas. If you want to, learn how to do some kind of woodwork or stuff, it's a great time to do it, to get in the shed and do it. Whittling away at wood and learning how to make things, and when it's not too hot and it is cold and there's not a lot of things to do and you want to stay warm in some way, learn to do these things then.
Well, I think this also kind of goes back to what we said in the beginning, which is knowing what the assets are. Okay. And if you, I'm just throwing these out just as examples. Okay. If you know how to make herbal teas to help with colds and congestion and things like that, but your neighbor doesn't, you can help in that aspect.
Oh, absolutely.
Your neighbor knows how to cook but doesn't know how to do the medicinal teas. Your other neighbor knows how to put things together just on the click of a snap, but nobody else does. Those three people now have become an asset group.
So it's looking at what everybody has around you and sharing knowledge. This isn't about keeping it all to yourself.
No.
I mean, there is an element of none of your business. There is an element of that.
Right.
There's always going to be an element of nunya, as we call it.
I think the important part to what you're saying, though, here, is know who your group is. I'm not saying go out and entertain 10 neighbors down the road and let's see what we can work together. Know who you're trusting. You have to be able to trust who you're going to do this with. We are fortunate that there's 3 of us in a line on this block that are all related. Okay. We have our medicinal part figured out. We have our resource person figured out. We have our knowledge base of X, Y, and Z figured out.
And that's really important.
It is important, and it goes back to the asset part of it as well as the knowledge and skill base, because I know with that, the knowledge can be spread and easily taught to others when we all sit down and have that conversation. Okay.
Absolutely.
But again, it goes back to what you just said. Some information is not intended to be shared and should be on the nunya list if you're not in that group, if that makes any sense.
This is why I refuse to do pantry tours anymore.
Yes, I won't do it.
That to me is on my nunya list. And I will more than happily show people how to make strawberry jam, for example, which was my last video, or
good video, by the way, I just want to say
thank you. But you're never going to know exactly how much I made.
No, I learned that a long time ago.
You're never going to know how much I made. I'm not going to sit there and let you see that I've got 150 jars or something.
But you don't, but let's just
don't, because I live in a tiny little house with no storage, so it's not going to happen. So but the point is that I'm not going to show people exactly what I have. Very rarely I will do an unboxing, but it's normally a piece of equipment, or it might be, if I found a new sort of like budget dry store wholesaler kind of thing. But it's not. I'm not going to show you what's in my cupboards. It's not happening.
And I don't think anybody should. And this
I don't think anybody should.
This is coming from knowledge from a mutual friend that we have.
Yes.
Be careful what you're out there sharing with people.
Yes.
And that's as far as I'm going to go with it. But just be careful with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that falls into the Nunya list.
Yeah, that is absolutely Nunya. And I watch people do it all the time, and I'm sitting there, I'm cringing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely cringing for them. You know? And I just think, why are you sharing this? You know, I get people want to see, you know, this and that, but really. Actually, yes, Devil Dog, it is absolutely, knowledge is power, my friend. Ashley says, I really don't broadcast it, but another of my skills is woodwork. I'm pretty sure I could make and sell simple things like wood planters, for example. So everyone has a skill, make use of it. Absolutely.
Yep.
Rebecca says, hey, Tony, I got pickled okra in my cabinets. Lol.
Hey, Blue. Rebecca's got pickled okra in her cabinets for you.
No. Won't get through
me.
customs. I'm all good, but you know, won't get through customs.
No.
Devil Dog says it's even harder to have OPSEC as a content creator.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and it's about being sensible about it. It's not about being overly paranoid and tinfoil hat kind of, you know, paranoid. It's about keeping yourself safe, being sensible, but still being able to share skills with people and knowledge without making yourself a target.
Right.
I'm sure it is delicious. So, okay. So that's what we got on there. Number 10. What the health? Now, this is really important.
Yes.
Okay. You have to take into consideration yours, your families, your friends, and other expanded family that are part of your group. Your health must be taken into consideration, whether that's physical, mental, or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an otherwise?
There's always another one. There's always things that we don't consider.
There are a lot of things we don't consider. Okay, so it's looking at what your needs. Health is wealth. Yes, it is. There's Ema. Ema is striving for self-sufficiency. She's wonderful. Go and check her out. Wow. She's a UK preparedness person. She's a UK preparedness person. And she's wonderful.
I think the thing that's important is that people need to realize, and this isn't because of who's in chat. That's not what I'm saying this for.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because you and I had this conversation prior to having this conversation. Yes. It's about everyday life happening as much as it is SHTF. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared for 3 days of whatever, or a week, or 2 weeks, or a month, or 6 months, or whatever, you're going to be screwed. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And that's not scaring you. That's not fear mongering you. That's at the basis, you have to have some sort of plan. Because we don't know what's coming up. We don't know what's going on.
Even if your plan, if a life situation hits, even if your plan is knowing where your food bank is so that you can go and get help.
Yep.
That's a plan.
Because that might be all we're talking about.
That's you know, that the bottom line is this isn't necessarily about, you know, the end of the world or the zombie apocalypse or whatever friggin' other thing is, you know, looming overhead and always has been.
Right.
Well, of course it had to be a zombie. It's either that or it's a mutant dinosaur, one or the other. But, you know, I refuse
I'm going with the dinosaur just because I'm zombied out, so the dinosaur's a refreshing new look at.
Yeah, so basically that's it. You know, I mean, the dinosaurs, you know,
hey, there's new Walking Dead stuff, so, you know, shush.
Yeah.
Anywho.
That's it as well.
I'm
seriously getting myself a new coin purse this weekend. I'm just saying.
But I do think the important thing is consider health, not just physical, not just mental.
Yeah, but emotional as well.
Emotional, it's verbal communications, it's social networking, it's a lot of things. Because you and I talked about this. You think that the biggest problem you have is how do I get my cholesterol medicine because the pharmacies are all closed down.
Yeah.
That's not, if you have kids, just example.
Yeah.
You're going to have a major issue on your hands because now there's no internet, there's no sugar, and there's no social communications with our friends. You are going to have a meltdown situation that is going to be hard to deal with. Whole point of what we're saying with medical situations, with mental situations, with physical situations, you have to be cognitive of the possibilities of what all that entails.
Yeah.
So
this is a big one. Okay, so for what Tony's kind of touching on is addictions. People within your family and friends and people who may or may not have some kind of addiction. Now, we're not just talking alcohol, drugs, etc. What we're talking about is prescription medication that they might be taking for a very long time. They might have a certain amount that they've still got that they've had stashed away because they've been saving it up for whatever. All right. So they still have a certain amount of that. But once that eventually runs out and they haven't got any, they're going to have to deal with the fact that they are going to have to live without that medication. Now, that's, I'm not in the greatest of health myself, and that is a consideration I have to consider is my medication, my pain relief. I have to find a way to tackle that and not be prescription-based medication, which is why I've gone down the route of learning about herbalism and becoming a naturopath and doing all of those kinds of things, because having other options is really, really important. But also finding options that are easily forageable are really, really important, because a lot of this medication and herbal options are not necessarily native to where you're living. So you either need to be able to grow them yourself, or you need to be able to forage for an option that is native to where you are. And it can't always be that simple. But then you've got different issues where people could be, they reckon that probably 80% of the world at the moment, or the Western world at least, is addicted to sugar. Now, if you've ever tried to come off sugar for a week or two, can I just tell you that not having processed sugar in that way will leave you with a massive hangover like migraine for days, and will probably be 7 to 10 days long, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to function with that, or you have to get everybody else to function with that. Now, if you've got small kids who are going through that, then you've got a problem on your hands, because now you've got grumpy kids. You're trying to go through it, they're trying to go through it, and everybody else is going through it. Not only that, but they're so addicted to their screen times and things that they're now going through a loss of that as well. And it is an addiction, because it's a dopamine receptor that they've been hitting on, and that's, where they get their happy joys from. So it's about finding all of the different ways of combating that. The other part about having to worry about health, etc., is realizing what your limitations are, what you are able to do, what you're no longer able to do, and how long things generally take you now to be able to do. Where you say, for example, I make a to-do list for a day based on what I could do 15 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, that to-do list now takes me a week. Okay, that to-do list now takes me a week. Now, is there something I can do about my health to make me better? Yes. There are certain things that I can do to make my health in a better state and for me to be in a better state. Am I doing them? I'm getting there. and I am working on it, but there are certain things that I need to do and have in place to be able to do that as well. So it's not just about what I'm doing. The thing is, and I'll be very, very clear about this, it's all wonderful being body positive. It's all wonderful going, yes, but I've got this and I've got that and I've got something else. But the bottom line is this. If things changed tomorrow in a big way, I would have a major struggle on my hands, because my health will not make an allowance for me having to do what I was doing 15 years ago in a day now in one day. Because
so I think
what I'm looking at doing instead of shaking it across a week, I would have to do it in a day. You know, if I had to suddenly go and start walking a mile or 10 miles or whatever, I'm going to be in trouble. You know, so it's looking at those things and going, right, okay, what can I do now to improve my health so that if these situations occur, I'm going to be better able physically and mentally to be able to cope with these things.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
I think one of the things that I came up with as we've been sitting here talking, and it goes along with what we were talking about prior to doing this, but you just really hit on the nail on the head. Every situation in this plan, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I think the 3 words you need to remember through the whole thing, because it's no different than your pantry. It's no different than life in general. You have to be willing to, and this refers to the plan, you have to be willing to manipulate, modify, and adjust.
Yes.
Because dependent on the current situation you're dealing with, which can change on a daily basis, you may have to do one of those things, and there's no hurt feelings over it. No. How do I accomplish the same thing? Okay, now like you just said, something that 15 years ago you could have done in a day now is going to take you a week, so you have to plot and plan that out. You know. Yeah. Don't be afraid to do this.
I had to do that in a day,
right?
And not a week. Which is what would happen if there was a major situation.
Right.
You know, I would be expected to do those things in a day, not a week.
Right.
I would be in trouble.
You would be in trouble, but I also know you will get through it. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you will get through it. But the point is, you don't want to have to all of a sudden go into that stage of they show in, okay, so you go and watch all these movies and people have never done any of this stuff in their lives before, right? Okay. And all of a sudden 3 months later, they are fit and wonderful, right? Okay. Because they've had to do this stuff. That's great. But you are on the back foot.
Yep.
You are on the back foot already.
Yep.
And you're lucky to have made it to that 3 months. Because of the amount of added stress to your body, because you're doing things that are completely not, your body's just not used to. It's like, you know, when you watch the Kung Fu movies and they're suddenly doing all of this like 18 hours of training kind of thing, and then 1 week later, Kung Fu master, they wouldn't be able to walk. I'm telling you, they would not be able to walk. They wouldn't be able to stand up. They wouldn't be able to lift their arms, because the amount of tearing that would occur, or micro tears and stuff in your muscles and your tendons and all of that kind of stuff, would absolutely floor you. It just wouldn't be possible. So it's looking at what can you do now to improve what you've got, to make your body a bit stronger and a bit fitter. If it's doing something like Qi Kwang or Tai Chi or something basic like that, do it. You know, you do what you can to do what you can, you know, to put you in the best possible position. But you have to be realistic when it comes to it as well. Okay. Because, you know, but the better physical condition you're in, the better your mental health is going to be as well. because you're going to go, right, well, I know I can do this and I know I can do that and I know I can do something else. Whereas if you're not in that position, your body's going to go, how am I going to do this, and this? You know, and you're going to be freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be freaking out. So you want to make sure that you're in the best position you possibly can be, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So, in conclusion, we're putting it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to put it all together. It's got to be effective, efficient, and obtainable so that you don't get overwhelmed by what's happening.
Yep.
Okay? Absolutely. You know, it's very easy to get very overwhelmed when stuff hits you. I have to admit, I had a minor meltdown this morning over, you know, life things. But you know what? I also know that we have a plan, or we will have a plan by the end of the day. And I also know that we are able to deal with it and be reasonably comfortable for the next 2 to 3 months, even if we don't have a lot of material resources.
Part of that, though, is the preparation you did ahead of time.
Part of that is the preparation we've done before that. Yeah.
Which comes back full circle to the whole thing. If you are at least somewhat prepared for those things, you can handle the situation a lot better.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. But like I've always said, you don't have to break the bank to do any of this stuff. You do not have to bankrupt yourself to do all of this kind of stuff.
No.
Do we all want to live on a plot of land in the middle of nowhere where no one can reach us? Of course we do. That is the absolute goal. You know, but, wonderful. You know, some of us have to live in the cities. Some of us have to live in the towns. And we can still do it from there, you know, and it's still possible.
Yep. Agreed.
You know? So, there you go. I hope that's helped. The downloadables will be ready next week for week 1 and 2. So they will be available on Patreon. If anyone wants them, other than that, you'll have to message me and I will make them available on Etsy.
Etsy.
Okay. They will be available on Etsy. Link in the description. So, but you need to let me know that you kind of want them. So, you know, I will put them up there if that's what you want. Otherwise, Patreons, go and have a look for them. They will be there by Thursday. I have a busy week. I have a busy week ahead. Yeah. So, yeah. So there we go. Now, next week, we are going to be looking at go bags. Go bags for different situations. Mm-hmm. What they should have, what is a good idea to have, what is recommended to have, and do your own thing bag. Okay, so, you know, because at the end of the day, it's about you. It's not about some government official trying to make himself look important.
Agreed.
You know, okay, so thank you guys for being here today. We've had a lot of fun. It's been lovely to see new people. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. And we will see you next week. Except, if you want to see us again very, very soon, you'll have to wait until
8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight.
Yes, which is 4 a.m. BST, British Summertime. So we will be on Kettle Kitchen channel. Okay, so and I have no idea what we're talking about because we just tend to talk all sorts.
We'll talk about unicorns, daisies, and flowers, and sunshine and rainbows. How's that?
Sounds wonderful.
I can tell.
You're not talking about dinosaurs?
No,
never mind.
Well, probably. I don't know. Okay.
We do need to have a conversation.
Great to have you along on the journey, mate. It really, really is.
Yes.
So, We'll see you guys later on. We have dinner. I can smell it. I can smell it. Okay.
Then
so we need to get going. And see you guys later. See you. Bye.